Welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast channel with myself, Sam, and I'm very delighted to be joined today with the one and only Anees Taj. Anees, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And how are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm really good. Obviously, the reason we're talking to you today is because you've just recently signed a management deal with the guys over at Vote Boxing. Can you talk to us a little about that? You know, how excited you are to be working with those guys and how that came about.
Yeah, firstly, can I apologise for the situation I'm in? Just finished sparring with Isaac Chamberlain, and he's based in Brixton. The route I was going was getting me home beforehand, before we started this. I decided to take a shortcut, which has turned into a long cut, which is the story of my life. So I'm now in the car driving whilst doing this. Right. So backstory. But anyway, yeah. So I joined up with Dan, Joe, and Latif of Vote. So I worked. Funny enough, I worked with Dan and Joe for the Vidal Riley #2 fight. We were working before that fight actually got announced. We joined up. We said we'd work together to try and get me sponsorships for my fights and whatnot. And what happened was we had the Vidal Riley fight come about, and we were working together. So they helped me get a whole load of sponsorships. But I got on well with Dan and Joe, and even after the Vidal Riley fight, we were still, I was using the contacts I got through them. I was still talking to them. Weekly. We were still chatting about stuff. Dan obviously got his matchmaking license, so he was getting stuff offered, and he'd be like on the phone, Anees, can you? So I've got a few contacts in boxers, etc., foreign boxers. So he was like, can you help me get this person? So I'll be putting my feelers out. So we've always been good mates. And then one day he rang me up just, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and we were just talking. And at that time, I had just gotten my license, my manager's license back, my manager's contract, sorry, back, because I've applied for my manager's license. And I said to my manager, I was pretty much self-managing anyway. Other than big fights, it was me ringing up the promoters. I've got a number of promoters that are friends with me. That I'm friends with, that I've got contacts with, and bringing them up, getting fights, trying to tell them, look, try and look at this guy, trying to maneuver myself back into contention for a title of sorts, whichever one, just trying to get myself back onto where I should be. And that was with my coach. So me and Dan were talking and went on about that, and he goes, Anees, have you got your contract back? I go, yeah, I'm a free agent essentially. I was like, why? What are you thinking? He goes, do you remember what we were speaking about ages ago, that we were trying to, because he was telling me they were trying to get their management license for the company. And I go, yeah. He goes, yeah, we're managing people now. I go, okay. Okay. Let's sit down and chop it up. So me, Joe, Dan, and Latif, we had a sit down. Obviously, we're all in different parts of the UK, so on a Zoom call sort of thing, just sat down. We discussed my ambitions, as well as what the plan I had, solo managing, whatnot, and then we came to agreement that it'd be better having Vote manage me, and it was a very good way we was working everything out. And he was like, look, Anees, let us help you, because Dan, obviously being a matchmaker, he's got links to every promoter, whereas I've got links to the southern promoters, and friends that I know could try and help me get in contact with others. Dan's just ringing them up and saying, look, I've got a boy, I've got Anees, we want to fight, da-di-da. And, I was supposed to fight on the show the other day where Sharif Dean Lawal passed away, and before we knew any of this was happening, Dan rang me in the morning, and it's the first time I've had this, where I've had my manager and the team. How you doing, Anees? How you feeling? You feel good? Look, this, just chopping it like what you would expect to happen from a manager, to be like a friend as well, making sure everything's good, everything's all cushy. Latif come down, had a good old chat, and it was unfortunate what happened that day with the guy passing away. But I feel like I'm in good hands now. I've got a team that are backing me all the way, and it's taking that stress off my shoulders of trying to find a fight, trying to find shows. Now, whilst I've got the contact and Dan's ringing people up, that I'm telling him, ring this person. They're like, why doesn't Anees just ring her? Dan's like, no. That's my job now. Anees's time of running around is done. It's me doing it now. So, I'm in a good place now, and I'm happy. I've got the nutrition sorted. I've got the strength and conditioning. I've got my boxing coach. Had the good setup. Now I've got the management team to go behind it to just help complement each other.
And I hope you don't mind me saying, you're not a traditional boxer. You're not your everyday boxer. You're a qualified lawyer. Like you've said, you've been, self-managing yourself for a little while now.
I just want to clarify something. Sorry, not a qualified lawyer, because people say this, and I try and clarify. I've done my legal practice course. I've done my Bachelor of Laws, which is the start. My legal practice course, which is what you need. The only thing I haven't done yet is my period of recognised training, which would make me a qualified lawyer. I can work in a legal capacity, offering legal services to people, which I do. I work for my family company as well, doing the legal stuff, the landlord and tenant stuff, the stuff that some people might not want to do. I enjoy it. I help people when I need to. I do contract law with people like Baluta. I offer legal services like that, help of talks, legal help, and I'll help them like that. But I'm not a qualified lawyer, though I am just as, if not experienced, than some of the junior lawyers going into court cases, because I've handled my fair share and won.
Fair enough. And as I was saying, so you self-manage yourself for a little while. You've said in the past that you don't want to fight anyone with a losing record. You want to fight with someone who wants to come and win. Why do you think that is? Why do you think you're maybe not just following the standard route of any other boxer?
The whole point behind that was, I'm not in boxing to try and... Some boxers try and make themselves into 10, 11, 12, 13-0, get a big payday, which is... Boxing has always been a sport where everyone's the same. The poorest people can get into boxing and have the same chances as the richest. Everyone's equal in the ring. So, but my thing was never try and make a quick bit of money, because in boxing, if you're going to try and make money, you're never going to get there, because there's no money in boxing. This is, I make more money outside of boxing than I ever will in boxing, unless I get to Saudi Arabia. God willing, one day I do have WBC cruiserweight title. When Saudi Arabia ring up, we'll give you 100 million. I'll be like, yep, you're fighting the baddie. I don't care. Give me 100 million. But other than that, you're rarely going to get the big numbers that people think you get. People look at Femi, Anthony Joshua, they look at Tyson Fury, but they don't realize that's the top 1% that are going to get that sort of money. If you're not in that top 1%, you're not getting that sort of money.
And let's jump back to maybe some of the early parts of your career, and we'll move on to the future, and obviously the future with Vote in a moment. So you made your debut originally in the York Hall, a legendary venue, and you fought a number of guys with winning records in your first sort of 3 or 4 fights, which is unheard of on the most part. How do you sort of see that going as the start of your career? Was that what you always thought it was going to be like?
Yeah, the start of the career, the first 2 were pre-COVID, and I was being trained by Sean Murphy and Gary Foley, who train head trainers at Finchley Amateur Boxing Club, very respected, legendary trainers, and they were guiding it along with my manager at the time, Mark. So, funny enough, Sean said to me when I said, Mo said, I've got these options for your debut. I said, give me that guy. So, whatever, I forget the guy's name now, but first one, 6'9", Sean goes to me, Anees, you must have picked the hardest bloody guy. Not his exact words, he had a lot more colourful language. He goes, you must have picked the hardest one out of all of them. But I went out there and I knocked him out in 45 seconds. I threw one punch, essentially, landed one punch, and I knocked him out. So we're looking good. My second fight, I think I had COVID. That was just as COVID was hitting. I was ill. I rode it to a points victory, which was good and well for me as well. And past COVID, the guy I boxed in Serbia, again, it was an opportunity to come up, and this was a game home fighter that come to win. And my thing is, if you have someone that's just there to tie up, cover up, and try and grind it out, all boxers want to fight, right? And if you offer someone undefeated, a boxer who's worth something is going to say, F it, I'll fight that guy. You believe in yourself. And it's the coach's, the manager's duty, it's their duty to say, listen, we've got to build you up in the right way, which is what Vote are wanting to do with me, right? They're not saying, and that's what my coach is saying, we're taking the matchmaking out of my hands. They said, you fight who we're telling you you're going to fight. It's not who do this option, this guy's 5-1, 2-5, or whatever. They said, that's not happening. You're going to fight whoever we say you're fighting, and you're going to like it. And if you don't, who cares? So, but the start was good up until, I got to Stevie Taylor. Stevie Taylor, 7-0, I think he was. He was coming off. I mean, he'd been out of boxing for some time, but he was coming off. If he beat me, he would have been right back up there. Because when he went out of boxing, not sure whatever happened, his personal circumstances, he was ranked in the top 15, I think. So if he beat me, he'll jump back straight up there. So I beat him, and then we were looking at titles. I was called for an English title eliminator, and I started looking ahead too far. I wasn't staying in the moment, which is something I fell foul of. Like, I put it up on when I signed with Vote. They're there to pull me back a little bit and not let me look 5 fights in front. I've got to look at the next fight and then the next fight. I don't need to look at, in 5 fights' time, I'm going to be going for the WBC International Silver Cruiserweight title. I need to let my coaches and them, they can talk about that. I've got to focus on the next guy in front of me. And that was my issue from when I signed with Al Siesta. I was just saying yeah to whoever I was being offered. I had my family telling me, listen, calm down. Everyone else they cook it a little bit. Why are we jumping in for the hard fights? And I was like, nah, it's not hard, let's do it. And hindsight is a cruel mistress. If I had listened, I probably would have been better off. I probably wouldn't have lost. But I might not have had the fight with Vidal Riley, because I might have been 7-0 rather than 5-2. You might have been, this guy's a bit too dangerous for us. And, I might not have gotten that exposure that I received from having the 2 Vidal Riley fights. Because as bad as they were, I lost them, I still had the notoriety of being that hard-nut braveheart who just walks forward and throws shots and likes to fight. And in the second fight, I didn't do much in the first 2 rounds, but then people saw, bloody hell, he woke up in the third and he's rocked him in the fourth. So it's like show people that, I've got a good chin. Yeah, I can punch very hard. But now it's time to show what we're working on in the gym and what Dan, Joe, and the team of Vote are trying to do. Now it's about progress. We don't need to be fighting for little fights all my career and just getting a call up to Sky when they want it. Let's make it that we go on to Sky as the favourite, rather than being, this guy's a live dog, but we're not sure,
Some of that self-belief of you being able to almost feel like you could fight anyone and looking too far ahead, does that come from maybe some of your amateur pedigree? Obviously, beating David Adeleye, fighting now for the English heavyweight title, and an amateur champion as well. Is that what has instilled the belief in you?
Oh, most definitely. My amateur record, I was 27 wins and 8 or 9 losses. I boxed in England, I boxed in Mexico, I boxed in Italy for England teams. I boxed in Pakistan for Pakistan. I was part of the Pakistan Olympic team for 2020 at the time, before COVID, obviously. I turned pro just before then. So it's like, when you've got this experience, I was ranked number 2 in a country of 300 plus million. I never lived there. I've got family there. I've got my heritage from Pakistan, and I've gone over there and I've walked through last year's number 2, the year 2018's ranked number 2 guy. No one had ever stopped him. I've gone out and stopped him in the first round. You know, people look at it and they're like, this guy is good. And I allowed myself to believe that hype. And it's good at times, but you need to take a bit of it with a pinch of salt. You can't just allow yourself to be overcome by this hype and believe everything. Now, I'll believe in myself against anyone. I believe if I had a third crack, for example, at Vidal Riley, it would be a lot different. You know, if I go in, I could go in with anyone in the UK, give them a good old hard fight. I do it in sparring. Why can't I do it in a fight? Do you know what I mean? But I need to allow my coach and my management team to work out the best route, so that when I do get into these fights with these top guys, whether it's the guys who are here at the moment or whether it's the next coming guys, you know, to have it where it's more in my favour.
And you've said, obviously, you believe yourself in this talent, and you've now got the right people looking after you in terms of your career. What does that mean for you now? Does that mean, you're looking towards future plans for belts to get yourself back in belt contention? What do you see coming over the next, couple of years?
Titles are definitely in the future. And Latif and Joe to work it out how they're gonna get them to me, because I'm in the ring. Like I said, I've just been sparring Isaac Chamberlain. I'm showing them of that level, but I stay away correctly to get to a stage where they've got a deer in headlights. Not that I ever was. Do you know what I mean? So now I've got the right team that are gonna. Now I don't even question who they set me to fight. Anees, you're gonna fight this guy. Have you agreed it with Kieran? Yes, Kieran says okay. That's fine. That's no problem to me. If Dan and Joe said to me, you're fighting this guy, but my coach Kieran said no, but they still want to try and press ahead, I'll go with what my coach is saying, because he's saying no for a reason. But the thing that I like is that we're all working together as a team, which we should. Dan and Joe Latif, they speak directly with Kieran. Kieran sees everything that they're saying, and Kieran is having his own input into it, which is what needs to happen. To have a very, very good running team, you need all the cogs working in order. You can't just have one cog working reverse, or not being involved. Then the engine won't run smoothly,
And the British cruiserweight division is a really strong division. You've got obviously some huge names, some of which you've mentioned already, and then you've got the likes of Chev Clark, Billum Smith, Riakporhe. Is that something that excites you in terms of being part of such a strong division, or is it something that maybe irritates you a little bit because there's such quality above you?
Oh no, never irritant, because you've got to see it in the sense of, if I can make something of it, right, of myself in this division at the moment, you see it in terms of, Isaac Chamberlain got his British and Commonwealth title. Now, he's part of the history books. No one can ever take that away from him. In a stacked division as it is, he becomes British and Commonwealth cruiserweight champion. So, for me, if I can get a title in the division that we're in, it's like when you look at the olden days. You look at Muhammad Ali, who was champion in a bloody very, very stacked division. Mike Tyson, when he was coming through at his age, and even when he went to prison and come back, he still got to a title. You look at Lennox Lewis, you see the talent coming through, and you're like, you know what? It gives you a urge to strive for greatness, and it gives me personally the urge to make sure I'm better than the next. So it's like you go running, trying to get the run times quicker, get myself fitter, because there's Chev Clark doing it, there's Isaac Chamberlain doing it, there's Vidal Riley doing it, and these are people that aren't out of my viewpoint for fight, because I'm of that level. I just need to get back to it,
Absolutely. And the last one from me, if you could give a message to the people listening that, have only known Anees Taj from losing to Vidal Riley possibly, or from looking at your box rec record, and maybe that doesn't say necessarily the true picture, what would you say to them about why they should tune in for your next fight, your next 5 fights, etc.?
If people are going to look at records are for DJs. You look at Johnny Nelson, probably one of the famed cruiserweight champion of the UK, and I would say in the world as well, he lost. I think it was his first 3 or 4 fights. as a pro. You know, if someone's going to be written off because they've lost a few times, look at all the greats. Nowadays, we have too much of this. I need the O. I need the O. Mayweather has brought. It's lovely, but you know, in the days of Rocky Marciano, he had the O, but that wasn't something that everyone strove for. They didn't want that. Nowadays, everyone's going a bit too much into having this O. If people want to write me off, they write me off. But when it gets to it, I hit hard. Seen in the Vidal Riley second fight, I'm carrying a little bit. I've rehydrated wrong. I've got the right team around me now to help progress me to where I should be in titles and everything. And it's time to join the train. The thing that I'm looking for, we're supposed to be fighting just before then in July. You know, I'm looking forward to these fights. I'm looking forward to getting back out there and getting myself into contention for titles and showing everyone that just because I've lost 4 or 5 fights doesn't mean anything.
That's brilliant. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. We should be down in Llanelli, me and the other boys on the channel, to watch you fight against Toby Vermeer, I believe. So we'll catch up with you at a future time then. But for now, thank you, obviously, for chatting to us and for telling us about your story so far.
All right. Thank you.